Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we are going to be creating some different styles of banners that you can put out throughout your dungeon as different decorations. So we'll go ahead and just get started. I'm going to go ahead and move to an empty layer. And in my scenes tab, I'll be working in inches. Of course, work whatever you're most comfortable with. And the scale of my grid floor is set to 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to go ahead and do Shift A, mesh, and we'll actually start with a cylinder because I want mine to be circular for our actual pole of the banner. Of course, feel free to do a cube or whatever style you're going for. But I'm going to start with a cylinder. I'm just going to leave it at the default for the vertices, so that way we don't have to worry about adding any subdivision surface modifiers or anything like that. This will print out pretty nicely for what size it's going to be. Now, 6 inches is a little bit larger than what I want to do, so I'm going to go ahead and knock this down to 0.15 for X and Y. And then the Z, I'm just going to go ahead and put at 1 inch for now. Oops. And zoom in on that. So it might be a little bit too tall. I might make it a little smaller. I'm just going to go ahead and size it down along the Z, just like that, just to make it a little bit shorter. I'm just going to tab into edit mode. Now for the bottom, I want to add a little bit of a base because right now it's not going to stand properly on its own. So all I want to do is just grab our bottom, which is already filled in, and I'll focus in on it, do E to extrude, and just size that out. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And since each of these grid squares is 1/4 of an inch, I'm making it so it's probably close to 1/2 inch for our base, so that way it's nice and sturdy for us. And then I'll just do E to extrude again and pull that down, just like that. And then if you wanted, you could make it a little bit nicer and have more of a rounded look to the base as well, which I think I'll go ahead and do like that. Just a little bit fancier. Okay. Now, of course, this is going to be a really thick pole, but basically it's just so that way it actually has enough width to actually print. So of course, I'm probably going to use this as a guideline, and then if it prints well enough, I could always size it down, but I'll probably leave it just so, you know, it's just a little bit more dramatic for our printer to handle anyway, and it'll be nice. Now, I want to have 2 loops, so we'll go ahead and do Control R and scroll up so we get 2. And I'm just going to drag those up, and I'm going to size them along the Z because I want them to be thinner. I'm just going to pull that to right about there where this grid line is, so we can have our other pole coming out horizontally. And real quick, I want to go ahead and just add a decoration onto the top of this, so I'm going to do E to extrude, pull this up, E to extrude, and pull that up to about there. Control R, I'm going to do S and X, or S and Shift Z. So pull those out to make that round. I'm going to add a loop here to round this out. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab this again, E to extrude, size that in. So we get a nice kind of like decorative top for us. And of course you could do just a point or any other kind of decoration. You could add a fleur-de-lis, but I just kind of wanted kind of a decorative brass handle or something to be at the top, depending on what color you're gonna end up painting this. So for our horizontal poles, what you wanna do is go ahead and set up the topology for it to be round. So I'm gonna go ahead and add another loop in the center here. And then from there, what I'm going to do is just deselect everything with A, do border select, and grab all of these vertices right here. I'm going to do E to extrude and just size it in slightly, not very much. And then I'm going to do W and smooth, maybe about 5 or 6 times, which doesn't seem like it does too much, but it'll kind of bring it in without distorting too much of the topology. I'm going to go ahead, grab these 4, size them in along the Z. I'm going to grab these 2, size them along the Z as well. just so we get our nice rounded shape again. And then we just size these along the Y. Perfect. Grab all of them. I'm just going to go into front view. Make sure it's not divoted in too much, which you can see there is a little bit. So we're just going to pull that out to make that as flat as we can. And we'll do E to extrude and pull that out. Whoops. Which actually I'll probably want to bring this up because it's a little bit shorter than I anticipated. So we'll probably just go ahead and do Z for wireframe view and pull this up to be more like that. Pull this out. And I'm going to go ahead and do SX0, enter to flatten that out completely. Now, of course, I want this on the other side as well. So I want to just go ahead and do B for border select and grab all these vertices, do X and delete those. Go over here to our modifier tab and do mirror. I'm going to go ahead and apply clipping to make sure it sticks together. And here we can go ahead and just play with the sizes more. And if you want, we could even add another knob on the end of this. So we can do B, E to extrude, pull that out, E to extrude again, pull that out, Control R, S Shift X, just like that. It might be a little bit too big, so I'm going to go ahead and size that down a little bit. But again, like I said, I'm going to make it a little bit more dramatic, and we can always pop it into the dungeon itself to make sure it doesn't look too ridiculous. But now that we have our frame set up, oh right, it got rid of our face once we deleted it, so we'll go ahead and fix that really quickly. I'm just going to grab this, do E to extrude, just size that down, pull it all the way to the center. I'm just going to do Alt M at center to make that into one vertice. I'm just going to do that on the top as well. E to extrude, size that down, Alt M at center. Perfect. Just to fix any holes that are there from our mirror modifier. Now there's quite a few different styles of banners that I wanted to create, so I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to banner pole. It's only 1 and 1/50, or well, it's only a little bit larger than an inch. I think I want this to be much taller, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this down to about here instead. So it's just shy of 2 inches because our walls themselves are about 2 inches high. So I'd like them a little bit shorter than the walls. So even actually we might pull it up just a little bit less. So that way they're not like touching the ceiling or anything, but just to make it a little bit taller, it'll be nicer that way. But now we can go ahead and just hide that. And we'll just do Shift A, and we're going to start with a cube so we can make some different banners. I'm going to go ahead and make a bunch of different styles so that way you guys can take your pick of what style you're going for. If you want to make them all just so you have the templates, feel free to do so. But other than that, you guys can just pick out which one you like the best. Now, of course, 6 inches is way too large. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and unhide our banner and just move it over to the left so we can use that as our sizing guideline as well for now. So for our X, we actually have our X at, just over an inch. So for this, we'll just do 1 inch for our X, and for our Y, again, I'm just going to do an inch to start out with. I'm just going to push this closer, and if you want, we'll just go ahead and put this right on top of our X axis to use. And we can have this as banner template so we don't have to do that again, and everything will be the same 0.1,000th of an inch or 1,000th of an inch, whatever. And we can just keep duplicating this and making our different shapes. So the first shape, we'll just go ahead and I'll move this up, do Shift D, and it's going to pull that back down. Tab into edit mode, and I'm going to do Control R, grab these and just pull this down. And I'm actually going to just pull this back to our center here. And it is too wide, so I'm going to do S and X. And I think I would just want our banner to be about that size. And pull this up. And that could definitely be one shape. So we just have banner, triangle, bottom. But of course you'll want this pushed forward. So that way it's kind of like intersecting our pole and it'll print properly. And then we should be able to make this thinner actually. I'm thinking we'll probably want it setting like here. So I always like to build our main structure first, and then we can kind of figure out how everything else should be sized. So once we get this set up, we can certainly go back to our main template and edit that as well. But I wanted to make this a duplicate, so that way we just have our default cube shape to start with. But I kind of like that. And then I would probably just go ahead and kind of draw this back, as well as these. So it kind of folds around the poles. Okay, so there's our first shape. And of course you could edit that as well, but first shape done. So I'm just going to drag that off. And so now it is at 0.872 for our X, which I like better. And then the length doesn't really matter because that's going to change per design. And then the width though is 75.2. And we just do Shift D now that we have our edited template. Pull that down and do our next shape. Now the next shape we could make very similar if you wanted. You could do Control R, scroll up so you have 3 loops. Pull this down. And pull these down as well, so that way it's more of a rounded shape for our banner. Pull this up. And then just like before, draw these back. Banner, new bottom. Shift D, pull it down. And then we can of course do the opposite. So we'll do Control R. Pull these down. And for this shape, I'd actually want it to be smaller and we can have a duplicate. So let's do S, Shift Y, because I don't want the thickness to go down. I'm gonna pull this over. SZ. Let's make it more like this. So we could have like a double banner going on, which if we did that, we'll pull that back and push it up and they can just boolean in. And if you wanted, instead of having the same design on each, could change this one so that way it is like that. But to make sure that those are flat, we'll do SZ0. Perfect. But I want to bring this up to probably about the same point as that. So you could have 2 different types that way with our little ones. Or of course we could do Shift D. Tab into edit mode. We'll do Control R, scroll up 3. Pull that one up a little bit. pull these two down. And we'll size this along the X to kind of taper that in, but still have a nice kind of like almost rounded part there. And of course, if you wanted, you could always have the horizontal pole more on the front, so that way you don't really have to edit it to be kind of hanging around the pole. That would probably make more sense, but it's personal preference for what you would prefer to do. I'm just gonna pull that over, and I think that's all we'll really do for now, unless actually there's one more we could do. Shift D, pull this down. Let's just size that along the X. Go ahead and just do Alt M at center. Grab these two, Alt M at center. So that way we have a triangle as well. We can just do Shift D and duplicate that to put it on the other side. So there are a few different styles of banners that you can use for your dungeon. I think I like this style the most out of the ones that we created, so I'm gonna go ahead and boolean those. After I figure out like that looks centered and is right like that. So I'm just gonna do apply to our mirror modifier and then add 2 union boolean modifiers. Just go ahead and select our banner templates. Apply those. I'm gonna move that to our first layer and see how it looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably put them in our puzzle room, so that way they could be hints or something for our puzzle solvers or just decorations in general. And of course you can duplicate them, add in different styles and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, go ahead and just post this in the comments below. And don't forget to let me know what you thought of this video. I really appreciate any constructive criticism. Other than that, I hope to see you guys next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe so I know you're enjoying these series. I'm hoping to get back into more monsters again. I've been working on them, I promise. But anyway, other than that, I will see you guys next week.